Hello, we're into the quarterfinals of the SCGIQ Games Invitational Qualifier here in sunny Doncaster. And possibly a couple of guys we've seen before. Lee Parker on the left.
Yeah, we saw Lee Parker in the first round taking on Jack Mitchell-Burns against with his Jund deck. And he's up against Ben Heath, who we saw in round 5 against Quentin Martin, he of the Triple Hell Rider, and he's playing Rakdos Aggro.
So again, let's have a little bit of a talk about the actual matchup between these two decks and what both of them expect to happen.
I think that in the majority this is going to favour the Rakdos Aggro deck. Lee's deck, again, bit of a mid-range deck, looking to try and gain value with sort of Thragtusks, Huntmasters and Olivia. And Ben's deck's just the straight-up resilient style aggro deck that he's had quite a lot of success with in this tournament, and it seems to be working for him so far. That's ultimate price on a Gravecrawler. Not really the most efficient use of an ultimate price, but anything to try and keep the life total high early. Especially with the fact that Lee hasn't had a Farseek on turn 2 here, he might feel like he's a little bit behind. If he drops a key rune here on turn 3, then he is open at least for this turn, but he does have a pretty chunky blocker. In fact, that's better than a key rune. That's Vampire Nighthawk, which is a pretty good card overall against Ben's deck.
Because a lot of Ben's guys have 2 power, and of course the Nighthawk has.
Yeah, and as well as the fact that the Nighthawk has lifelink, so if he's got no good blocks to do, he can just swing with his. He can just swing in with the Nighthawk, gain 2 life, and continue with whatever his turn was.
No play from Ben there on the last turn, so...
It's possible he missed his land drop there. Not really too much he can do at that point. No, he didn't miss his land drop, but because he's got the basic mountain in play, that means no messenger, which is pretty much the 3 drop that he's looking for. Oh, Ben drawing for his turn, thinking. If he has his 4th land, we can see quite a lot from him here. Hell Rider, Falconwrath Aristocrat, any of those sorts of cards. Still having a think to himself. Obviously he's got a think about here. Well, he obviously doesn't have a Hell Rider or a Falconwrath. He just comes in for 3 with his Knight of Infamy. Well, there's Cavern, so yeah, obviously on zombie, so he can play his Geralf's Messenger. Again, a pretty good card against Jund, but it depends if Jund's got Pillar of Flame working for him. I think it's going to be Lee's goal in this game to try and stick an Olivia and make sure that it's on 4 counters, because at that point, or that it's a 4/4, because at that point Ben can't really realistically get through it, and can't realistically burn it either.
Well, if Lee has a couple of burn spells in his hand here, certainly he can consider just ignoring the Geralf's Messenger completely.
Yeah, it's only going to do him another 2 damage. He's on a pretty high life total, and with that Vampire Nighthawk doing its job, I think that he will be he'll be quite happy with the situation this game.
Maybe he's got a little bit of mana flooding.
Maybe a little, but those key runes help a little bit with that, just due to the fact that he can block that messenger without really being too worried. If Ben chooses to burn the key rune, then at least that's a burn spell not going to Lee's face, and he does have another key rune, so I don't think that Lee will be too concerned with how this is going at the moment. Ben's got to try and figure a way through to force as much damage into the gap here as possible. He's just turning both his guys sideways. And Lee's going to activate the key rune and block the messenger, so he's going to take 2 from that and 2 from the Knight of Infamy. Looks like Pillar of Flame from Ben. Yeah, there we go. So 1 key rune down and another messenger, so now things are beginning to look a little bit more threatening for Lee at this point. That's a nice card from Lee. That's Kessig Wolfrun, so that means that he can, should he choose, he can power up his Vampire Nighthawk and get in for an awful lot of lifelink. I think he might be I think he's thinking about using a sort of halfway house here. He could pump the Nighthawk up for 1 and still leave Rakdos Keyrune up, which means he can block the bigger messenger. I'm not too sure which way I'd like to go about this, to tell you the truth. Whether I just want to dump as much mana as possible into the Nighthawk, or whether I'd like to leave the Keyrune back.
Well, he could have got up to 19 life then, and he would have took 9 on the swing back.
More. That would have been a lot more. Here come the boys. Lee choosing to block the 3-2 aristocrat, 3-2 messenger there.
Much better to have blocked the bigger messenger.
Yeah, because it doesn't come back and he doesn't take the 2 off the.
It takes 1 less.
I mean, I suppose it's not a big deal due to the fact that the aristocrat's there, so Ben can always just trigger
the only reason for doing that is if he's got some kind of wrath effect, I guess, maybe.
He could have bonfire. The other thing, as I was thinking, was that now both messengers are in sort of searing spear range. But that was a pretty devastating attack from Ben there, and yeah, make sure there's a counter on that, please. 7 mana from Lee. This has got to be a bonfire, hasn't it? Yep, that's Bonfire of the Damned. So he was playing to his outs at that point for sure. But Ben sacrifices his creatures to the aristocrat just to make it indestructible, and because it was a human, it also gets +1/+1. So he's now got a 5/2 aristocrat in play. Obviously, Ben's got to find a way through that Vampire Nighthawk. That'll do. Because whichever one gets blocked, Ben just sacrifices it so Lee doesn't get the life link. And Ben is going to take game 1 there.